Hello, everyone. It is your boy, The Cho, and before I get into the regular swing of things, I have a pretty cool announcement that I talked about last week, but maybe you didn't hear that episode, so let's do it again. Pretty cool announcement. This Wednesday, tonight, if you're listening to this podcast when it first comes out on September 9th, tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can check out my brand new television show. TV show, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I said television show. It's called All Night Barbecue Fight, which will premiere on the Cooking Channel, as I said, tonight, September 9th. Here's a brief summation of the show. It's from the people who brought you the wildly popular show Chopped. So if you saw that, it sort of follows that format, whereas I'll be throwing crazy curveballs as chefs as they attempt to cook. But what makes this one different, guys, is that the setting is a low and slow 24-hour barbecue cook, baby. So right up my alley. I'm super excited about this. I'm super excited just to fucking have a television show. That's really neat. But I also got to eat so much barbecue, as you can imagine. So tune in tonight to see me stuff my face with short ribs and macaroni and cheeses and stuffed jalapeno peppers. It was so much fun. Anyways, I've had to keep that under my hat for a while. So I'm so excited to tell you about it. Please tune in to the Cooking Channel tonight, September 9th at 10 p.m. to check out my brand new show, All Night Barbecue Fight, and hopefully everybody likes the pilot and we can keep doing more, because I'd love to have a job right now. That would hit really hard. So WellREDcomedy.com, WellRED comedy.com. That is where you can find out where we're going to be when they let us be places that we really, 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 really want to be. Right now the tour is delayed due to the coronavirus. As you guys know, I hope you guys are being safe. Hope your loved ones are being safe, and if you're essential, I guess hell, I mean they pretty much just opened shit back up. But if you're one of those that's been on the front lines taking care of us, EMTs, all those firefighters, all them good people, appreciate you. Can't thank you enough. Sign up for our newsletter while you're there. Then that way you'll be the first to know whenever this thing opens back up and we can go places. For the time being, though, you can get our shirts. You can get our book, The Liberal Redneck Manifesto, Dragging Dixie Out of the Dark, which, by the way, just came out in Spanish. We are goddamn international, folks. You can get our album, WellRED, Live from Lexington. Also, since we're in the quarantine and everybody's running out of content, you've already watched The Wire, you've seen The Office 27,000 different times. Check out our sister podcast, the spinoffs, if you will, of the WellRED podcast. We've got our buddy Drew Morgan and DJ Lewis have Into the Biscuit. Trae Crowder and Smart Mark AG have The Evening Skews. And me and my buddy Matt Coon have the brand new podcast, Through the Screen Door, with Corey Ryan Forster. It goes up on Tuesdays. We're having a lot of fun. And we're trying to put out as much content for you guys as we can. Now that we can't be on the road, we're trying to use our time wisely. So enjoy this podcast with our good buddies James Bane and Stan Mayer. We talk about Trump's recent comments about the military, because these guys are both veterans. They're good friends of ours, and it's a very interesting conversation, and we love you very much. And, oh, hey, this podcast is brought to you by Smoky Boys Grilling. Go to SmokyBoysGrilling.com to get all the rubs for all your meats, and also CarveVodka.com. Do you want to see what the fuss is about Jacksonville's first and only craft vodka distillery? You want to drink like the Cho, motherfuckers? Well, go to CarveVodka.com and carve your own path. And now on with this show. Love you, ski.
They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Are we here?
We're here. Here we are. Here we are. For the second week in a row, we've got a different third amigo here. Cho is back this week, but now we are absent Drew, who may be dead. Who knows? He's on a spirit quest in the American West somewhere. That just means he's drunk in Wyoming. But he's him and Andy are driving across the country back to Tennessee, spent some family time during the pandemic or whatnot. So he is indisposed. So what we have done is we've called once again a friend of the podcast who y'all have met before to come and sit in for our missing compatriot. And this week, that is James Bain, who is, if you all recall, an actor. He's been in countless big-time commercials, Super Bowl commercials. He's also been in NCIS, and he was in HBO's The Brink, acting opposite Jack Black and Tim Robbins, and been in plenty of other stuff too. And it was recently, we talked last time he was on here, in a big time Hollywood picture with a big time Hollywood actress, but then the world ended, and so who knows what's going on with that. But anyway, that's what James does. But James is also, perhaps more importantly, a fellow Salina boy. He grew up in my hometown. He was sort of like the older brother that my group of friends, the older brother to all of us, because his actual younger brother grew up with me. So I've known James pretty much my entire life. James is also a U.S. Marine. So a little bit later.
Are you just going to skip over the fact that he played Private Bryce in our War on Christmas sketch, possibly his greatest role ever?
Oh, that's right. Yes, I'm sorry. What am I thinking? He was
fucking
Private
hell.
Bryce. He was Private Bryce in our final forever Comedy Central sketch, The War on Christmas. Anyway, James was in the Marines for years and has remained active with the military and with veterans activities and whatnot ever since. So we're definitely going to get into some relevant shit with James a little bit later. But just first, though, how's it going, buddy?
Oh man, just fucking surviving in the pandemic world. Thanks for having me on, man. It's an honor. Love listening to you guys every week, but to be on too is nice. I'm trying to get out of LA a little bit, not too far. Got a house that I might be closing on soon up in Running Springs, which is like Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear. So I'm looking forward to getting up there and being back amongst, trees and whatnot. If it doesn't burn down.
You've certainly got the beard going for it. You got that woodsman beard going.
I'm trying to lock down all those racist roles that are going to be coming up soon.
Right.
Oh
yes.
yeah. You're going to be one of the proudest boys on TV whenever this shit's over.
I can't remember. Did we talk last time you were on the podcast about that time you were biking through? Was it around the Memphis area or something like that?
Yeah, it was Memphis. I was riding my motorcycle cross country, and this kid on a Harley came up with me and was kind of passing me. I started following him through traffic in Memphis, and I was like, "Man, those lightning bolts on the back of his motorcycle look like SS symbols. I wonder if he knows that."
Oh my
god!
And
he noticed I was following him, and he was like, "Hey, dude, where you heading?" I'm in California. He's like, "Oh, my clubhouse is right here. You want to go in?" I'm like, "Sure, man. Why not? Seems fun." Walk in, and it was like Ace Ventura when he walks in the lovely room of death.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, lovely room of racism you have here." It's just like every kind of racist memorabilia. It was the whole smorgasbord. You had KKK and it was like the 4 Fs or something like that. And
were there swastikas?
Swastikas. I mean, everything. Everyone had Confederate. All the old timers had Confederate.
Man, just playing all the hits.
That particular type of racist, it always just blows my mind because I think we're just so used to of course, I know so many races, but none of them think they're racist. You know what I'm saying? They're all like, no, I'm not racist, but they're very, very racist, but they'll never admit they're racist. And then you got these people who are like, I mean, literally wear it on their sleeve. You know what I'm saying? That's so bizarre to me that they're like, no, God damn it, I am a fucking racist.
Right. I mean, it's comical because I'm large white man. Had I been any other color and walked in there, it would not be as comical because I just had seen Get Hard with
Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell.
Yeah, they take him to a place like this, and the place I went to was so over the top that I thought it was like a set.
Right. Like Boyd Crowder's little church gimmick situation he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for people just listening, James also was a college football player. James is gigantic.
He's a huge motherfucker.
He's 6'5" and massive, and he's very white. He's blonde. He's you got an Aryan super soldier general physical thing going on. But obviously James isn't any of that. But he's got I know we talked about last time. You've just got. You check all of those boxes that those guys are looking for other than the ideology. You know what I mean? Because you're from Salina, Tennessee. You're super white, big as hell, football player, fucking Marine.
Oh, dude.
Those dudes 100% expect you to be on their team.
Yeah, you break a lot of hearts when they start talking to you like they're like, we have one. This is our boy.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was the surprise, draft pick to the left side.
The other side. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
Corey, how are you feeling today?
I'm
not good, right?
I'm not well. No, I'm not well. So I haven't I know this is going to sound insane because, and I get it. I've earned it. I'm sure that people think that I just, stay getting slaughtered drunk. And there are times where that's true, but I really haven't for at least, I'd say 2 weeks. I've drank I drank one day in the past 2 weeks, but I didn't get slaughtered drunk. I just kind of had a couple beers, and I was like, I don't want to deal with it. I want to go to sleep. I'm enjoying my sleep schedule. I'm getting up about 6 a.m., getting a lot of work done by about 3 because that's when Amber gets home. I'm trying to keep it to where I can be a husband and shit. I'll work when she's at work, and then we can do a regular thing. Just trying to be that guy since we don't have to be on the road. But when I had some drinks, I was I'm not going to do this. Well, last night, my buddy Robbie, Robbie, my best friend, he got engaged, which is a big deal. Him and Meg have been together for 8 years. Yeah. And when nobody ever thought he'd do it because Rob is a bit of he's against most stuff and marriage. Rob is just so against stuff, and marriage is the stuffiest of all stuff. But he did it, and so we had in his yard, we had a little cookout, we socially distanced as best as we goddamn could for being as drunk as I pulled a drunk last night, so I'm saying, and it was the first real, I drank hard liquor for a while, and so I'm not feeling good right now, and so what I've done, I'm kind of I'm in a bit of a spot right now because I woke up, and normally my go-to hangover cure is CBD, a bunch of CBD oil, a ton, 4 times the recommended dose of that, and I'm good to go. Well, I got up this morning and realized, oh shit, I'm out of oil, and I put an order in, but it's fucking Labor Day, so they're not delivering, so I don't have it. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? God damn, it's the only thing that helps my hangover. I remembered that I have CBD cream, a salve, and I've not been shy before about telling people that I stick weed cream and weed jelly just right in my butthole.
Up your butthole, yeah.
Up my butthole. I'm
He's
not
not
ashamed.
Been shy before. He had a bit that he did on stage, every night for an extended period of time. He talked about shoving weed up his asshole and killed with it, of course.
Yeah, it's on my special Corey Forster live with the BG. You can get that. You can get that.
You can get shy about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Work,
yeah. Oh, hell, absolutely, it works.
Okay. Well, so okay, I know because me and you have talked about it all the time. You're like me in that you are very, very susceptible to weed, very sensitive to weed, and have a very low tolerance. And I do too. And the way I've always understood butthole drugs is that you can do any kind of butthole drugs. And way I've always understood it is it actually makes the drugs more potent and more powerful because of how sensitive the fucking blood, how much blood vessels you got in your blood. I don't remember the specifics of it, but it's supposed to
the mucous membrane. It goes straight to your bloodstream.
There you go. Thank you. So that seems like it would be a bad idea for a man who's extremely sensitive to weed to shove weed up his butt.
Well,
is that not how it works?
Well, I think that if I shoved me and you take a 10 milligram. If I shoved the equivalent of a 10 milligram gummy up my butt, I'd go to the hospital. But sure. I think what it is most of these creams, even it's so low because it's meant for topical. It's not meant to get you high. It's meant for helping your joints and stuff. So it's just so low that when you shove it up your ass, it maybe is it becomes the equivalent of that. My point is though, this is just straight CBD cream that I got. So I was like, look, if I get high by sticking the weed part of it up my ass, then I bet you the CBD will have the calming effect on me if I shove it up my ass. So I go in there.
Can't fault it.
Look,
can't fault the logic.
I've got years of data on this. So so I go in there and I take a shower to get clear everything out and stuff. And so I'll get out of the shower and I get a gob. And here's the deal, folks. I'm not shy about this. I'm not talking about just rubbing it on. I get in there. You know what I mean? I spread go a couple nucks deep, and
if you're in the neighborhood already, you might as well drop in.
Absolutely, you goddamn right. So I shove a whole fuck ton of this CBD up my asshole.
Is it in like a tube, like sort of a toothpaste tube situation?
No, that'd be great because then I could just like suppository it.
Yes, you just shove the
cream application.
It's in like a little Dapper Dan gimmick, thing. Like it's
so
just
you got to get it on your fingers. You've got no choice but to finger your butthole.
Absolutely, and I do, and it like that Ron White bit goes, and I hated it at first. Next thing I know, I was like, Grandma, I think I'm getting a fever. But anyway, and I love shoving my fingers up my ass with weed on it. It's one of my favorite things. But anyways, I go to shove this shit in my ass, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna work. This is gonna be good. And all of a sudden, I get a tingling sensation, and then all of a sudden, I look and I realize it's mint. It's mint, yeah, dude. And my ass, it's still. This was like an hour ago, and I'm still like, it's fine. It's kind of just like a cooling sensation at this point. It's like kind of like eating a peppermint patty with my ass right now. But like at first, it was very, 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 very bad and did not hit.
I just got this picture of the meme of Ralph Wiggum where he's like, "I'm in Bane here."
Yeah. I'm very Ralph Wiggum-y.
He's very Ralph Wiggum. Yes.
But so when that happened, I was so uncomfortable that I was like, I started sweating, and then I got more, and it just kind of made me sicker. So the opposite of what it should have done. But it's like, I think it's ran its course now, and I think I feel okay. But yeah, I drank like a whole goddamn bottle of Dickel last night, and Dickel rye. And that will do it. And we had a fucking blast. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know, man. I think I'm done. Like
I know that's what you're about to say.
But like the thing is that I know you're thinking like, well, of course everybody says that when they're hungover, but I said that before I even started drinking yesterday. Like I really didn't even want to do it, and I haven't really drank for the past 2 weeks. Like when we went on to a cabin last weekend while I wasn't here, and I didn't drink when we were there. I had a couple beers the first night, and then I was like, dude, I fuck it. I don't want to. Like I'm kind of. This is gonna sound strange, but like I'm happy right now. It's weird.
And that's great. Okay, a couple things. I want y'all to check me on each of these. No, it ain't gonna go like the way you thinking it will. I will still fuck around and do it sometimes, don't get me wrong. Happens to the best of us. But like starting a while ago now, like you were saying, you're like, it wasn't just this morning I said I think I'm done. I kind of didn't even want to do it yesterday. Did you get I don't really enjoy like being drunk anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still like to have like a couple when we were having shows. I like to have a couple drinks for a show.
Yeah, that's different.
But like I don't enjoy actually getting drunk and having for a while now. It's not just the hangover. Like the being drunk part also isn't fun to me anymore.
No, I agree because like I just, especially with kind of what we got going on, like I'm at the house, so I'm just drunk by myself. And I just get really anxious. And I also am just like, I don't know, I get in my head so much of like, I'm solder drunk, which means I can't get any work done because anything I do right now is going to end up getting tossed tomorrow because it's going to be gibberish. And then tomorrow I'm not going to be able to get any work done because I'm going to be so goddamn hungover that I'm just, I'm in a really good creative space right now. Like for some reason, I'm in the zone and have been for a couple months, and I'm trying to keep churning shit out. And that's just more important to me, and also genuinely more fun. Like, I hate to have the old cliche, like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But like, I skip events and tell people like, I'm sorry, I would, but I'm working. They're like, oh, that's a bummer. And I'm like, yeah. And I try to like, relate to him, be like, but I'm like, here's the deal. I would rather be working than go to your stupid fucking thing because I enjoy doing it. So, dude, I'm not sitting here saying I'm gonna fucking sober up, never touch alcohol again. But like drinking just for the sake of I'm bored and it's Tuesday is done. I think I don't, and also. And this is just getting older. My hangovers bare minimum 2 days now. Bare minimum. The second day obviously isn't going to be as bad, and I can function. But like, I still am like, I really should sleep. I don't feel good, and like
that's a huge part of it too.
At one, like what we do, like we've got so much going on. Thank God, that's awesome. But like, I don't have 2 days to set. Like, 3 days really. 1 for the drunk, and then 2 for the recovery. I hope I never have a span of 2 days where I can allow myself that off. I like being busy and working. So I don't know, man. I think I'm just growing up, Trae, is what it is.
Sounds like it, you know.
Don't
At
hit.
long last, the show, growing up. The second, I do want to present y'all with the second thing in a second, though. But first, James, what do you, how you feel about getting drunk as you get older?
I mean, I had a late start. I didn't drink until after I'd been in the Marines for about a year. Like I went to college. I was a Christian.
James was very much a late bloomer. Yeah, we talked about that last time. I remember I said to you and Drew both that it almost made me mad. Because you know, Corey, you know how Drew was. He was super into Jesus and everything when he was like an all-state quarterback. So he wasn't like having sex and partying and stuff like that.
Fucking pussy, yeah.
That's how that James was like that too. And dude, when I say like he would.
He left so much on the table.
So much on the table. But in James' case, though, Drew then later met the love of his life and got married and whatnot. But in James's case, like he later made up for it.
Right.
Don't worry. But yeah, James was because I remember James is a few years older than us. Like I said, he's like older bro. And we used to always be like, you know, it was wild to us how good of a boy he was.
You know Robbie was that way too.
Yeah,
and to look at him now, it's like surely not. But I mean, you know.
But anyway, we interrupted. But yeah, because I feel like if you just get to know James a little bit now, you wouldn't probably expect that. But yeah, he was like that too.
Well, I mean,
a late bloomer.
I mean, James to me, we're talking about him like he's not sitting right here, but James, me he's a extremely kind person. He's like the fucking, you know, gentle giant fucking teddy bear. Could absolutely fucking choke me with one hand to death. This motherfucker's, for those of you that aren't watching this, he's like Kane from goddamn like peak attitude era level huge. Good dude, very responsible, obviously, you know, Marine, structured, all that stuff. However, like he still looks like somebody that stay getting fucked up because like that's just what men do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And James, no one is more of a fucking man that I know of than James. So he just seems like always got like a metal flask, like a Harley Davidson flask of rye on him just in case the server at O'Charlie's pisses him off, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
So go ahead, James. How did your relationship with booze evolve?
I was sipping on some tequila just now. It's listen, as you get older, man, it packs more of a punch. I turned 40 this year, and I've done the hey man, I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm going to stay away from it, and it always comes back. But yeah, I don't like to party like I used to because it takes a couple days to recover. But also, like, I need to have a drink with me to handle some people's shit.
For sure.
The world is right now. I'm like, if I need either, and I hate I'm not saying you have to like, you know, partake in all this, but I'm saying like I either need a joint or like a sip of tequila.
Yeah,
there's some bullshit going on, and I don't want to have to like do that dry.
Yeah. So, all right, that kind of leads into the second thing I was going to talk to y'all about, and I want y'all to check me on this because let me preface this by saying I know that a lot of this is me rationalizing, and I fully admit that. But I also have always been the type of like, I need something. And one specific way that manifests is like at the end of the night. So I used to, from when I was in college up until I was like, I don't know, mid-20s, I drank every single night pretty much. But back then I would drink like vodka and shit. It wasn't hitting. I wasn't getting like slaughtered and doing dumb shit, but I was just drinking way too much, you know. And then I quit drinking entirely unless we were on the road. When we moved to California, I never drank in California ever when I was at home. What I was doing instead was I would eat like a half of a gummy when the boys went to sleep, and me and Katie would turn on Netflix or something, and I'd have that half a gummy in me. And then here's the important part. Invariably, every single night, what that would turn into is me defiling myself with whatever is in the refrigerator, right? And even if I made it a point to not have junk food in the house, all I would do is just eat enough tangerines to make a monkey puke. you
Yeah.
know, and a bunch of pistachios and shit too. Like I'd have like healthy shit, like nuts ain't calorie dense as fuck, and I just sit
Right.
there and eat a whole goddamn bag of pistachios. I would do that type of thing because also I would do good about like my dieting or whatever about not eating too much during the day. I've never been a breakfast eater, so I ate just a medium lunch and a big ass dinner, but still, that's it, just 2 times. And the boys go to bed, and I'm like, I'm doing great today.
Yeah.
Eat half a gummy, and by the time I go to bed, I'm holding my stomach like, oh no, what I did, why'd I do that? Even if it's like healthy food, every single night. And now, before I get into what I'm doing now, preface this again by saying I know I should just do neither of these
Right.
things.
Yeah.
But I can't do that because I'm broke. So anyway,
Yeah,
broken,
me too.
I'm broken.
I'm so glad you clarified that.
Yeah, right. I ain't broke, motherfucker. Anyway,
Hell no.
So here's what I've started doing recently, and also how I rationalize it in my brain. We ran out of weed gummies a while ago and just haven't ordered anymore. Okay, so I'm not getting high and eating a shitload of chips and dip or whatever at night. Basketball's been on and whatnot. What I've been doing instead, and Lord, this is gonna set Thompson on fire. This part that I'm about to say, how big of a pussy I'm being right here. I know, but what I've been doing instead is drinking 3 to 5 White Claws.
Yeah.
Like we talked about before, which are 100.
Thompson's so furious right now.
I know. When you brought them up on here, Cho, I shit all over them because you said they were 100 calories, and I was like, well, I thought they were like 50. What's the fucking point?
Yeah.
But I get the point now. But so,
they hit.
Listen. Forget White Claw. 150 calorie lemonade Trulies. That's the jam right there.
Okay. Are they bigger than White Claws?
No, it's just they taste better.
I can handle the shittier taste for 50 less calories because you have 2 of them. That's a whole extra 100, James.
Calories and get taste.
So here's why I'm rationalizing it is before my nightly routine, my sorry ass, but between the time the boys went to sleep and when I went to bed, I consumed like fucking probably on average 700 calories of food at least, if not sometimes a fucking 1,000. If I had a whole bag of French onion, a whole bag of Lay's as a French onion dip.
That is not that, dude. 1,000 is not that hard when you're drunk and high.
Right.
No, not even close to hard.
I would go to bed, 1,000 calories in, and now it's like maximum 500. So even though it's booze, when before it wasn't no booze,
calories.
I'm still in my head like. This is long run better for me than what I was doing before. So
I mean, here's the deal. I'm gonna tell you right now. I think you're fucking 100% right, but I'm gonna also tell you something that you don't want to hear. You know who you sound just like right now? Your boy, me.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
I just went on a huge diatribe about how like I'm growing up and maturing. I don't have to drink as much anymore. Blah 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 blah. Me and you peed in a fountain and lightning struck. Basically, is what it sounds like right now. Because like that what you just did was Cho math. Yeah. And here's the deal: 2 + 2 is 4, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like it works. It just works. A calorie is a goddamn calorie. And then White Claws ain't bad, man. Like I drank some last night, and like I mean I had a couple beers. I had this fucking God. Where you at on porters?
Porters?
Yeah,
I like them fine. I don't hardly ever drink beer at all. Again, Thompson's like, God damn,
I know.
This motherfucker moves to California. I swear to God.
Well, I'm normally not big on porters myself, and I mean, this is not the greatest story in the world, but I just want to throw it out there that last night I had a chocolate peanut butter porter that legitimately tasted like a goddamn milkshake. And it was delicious. But then after that, I was that's a little heavy. So I went with seltzers and an entire bottle of Dickel, just to keep it a little light.
Yeah.
Well, I try to do tequila because, it's
upper.
Yeah, it's upper-ish, I guess.
See, that's for a long time. When
it doesn't make sense though.
When I was trying to lose weight, it was like I would get vodka and drink it with just like soda water or even just like water with some lime juice in it or just whatever, which seems fine. But when you put as much goddamn vodka into
Yeah.
one drink as my ass does. It's like, I want to taste it. I want it to hurt me. What the fuck we doing here? You know,
Yeah.
like,
well,
and that totally defeats the purpose.
That's the thing for me too, is that like, this should probably come as no surprise, but like my tolerance is pretty ridiculous when it comes to booze. Like I can really, so like if I start at like, 7:30 or something drinking, and I'm going to drink till, 1:00 in the morning or whatever, I can easily drink an entire bottle of liquor by myself. No problem. And I mean, I know that that's bad. That's a bad thing, but I can do it, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm saying, like, I'll remember that night. Most people, if they drink half a bottle of vodka, they're like, I have no fucking idea what I did this. I'll drink a fucking whole bottle of vodka and go to a meeting. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't shit to me. So like, yeah, man, once you do that, it's like, dude, I'm already having 2,000 calories in this. I'm gonna go eat a whole can of soup. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we are men with demons, Cho. It's what we are.
We are.
One of them demons for a long time was the demon backy.
Yes.
Not the wacky tobacco, just the regular old tobacco. I don't know when you start smoking, but I started smoking. I was 16 years old.
15 for me.
Did consistently quit smoking cigarettes. When was that, Corey? I quit the same week you did.
That was Thanksgiving 2 years ago. We're up on getting up on 2 years.
But have been vaping on this episode. I'm still on nicotine, but after getting off the cigarettes, the only thing I'd found that hit for me was certain vape pens, but no longer, not anymore. I found a new thing that hits for me now, and her name is Lucy.
Oh, the lover Lucy.
Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, a tobacco alternative that doesn't suck. Lucy is gum, Cho. Tell us about it.
Well, first off, I'm going to go ahead and throw out there that my favorite flavor is the pomegranate. It's absolutely delicious. And I say to people, the reason is, by the way, wintergreen and cinnamon are absolutely tremendous as well. I just had some cinnamon. It's just that usually when I need the nicotine is when I've been boozing. And if you're drinking seltzers and you're chewing pomegranate, it don't fuck that shit up at all. You know what I'm saying? If you chewing the wintergreen, your seltzer's going to be a little funky, but that's why I really like the pomegranate. So Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine. It comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, pomegranate. This shit has been researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great. No shit. I really genuinely love it. It's convenient and discreet, and the products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even in the gym. That's, obviously we're not traveling right now because of this bullshit, but that's I hadn't even really thought about that aspect of it. That's going to make my plane ride so much better.
Yeah. It's 2020. You ain't allowed to do cigarettes no more, and you shouldn't, so just get rid of all that shit and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. It's the real deal. If you subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door every month. It's so simple, and you don't even have to leave your house because Lucy's got delivery down. So, WellRED listeners, go to lucy.co, not .com, lucy.co, and use the promo code RED, R-E-D, and you get 20% off of all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co, and use the promo code RED at checkout. Also, I have to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co, and use the promo code RED. It'll hit.
It will hit. And before we stop talking about them, I would like to give this little personal story here. I am, we were just talking earlier about me getting shit-faced, but hadn't really in a couple of weeks. I also am 2 weeks vape-free. I'm off the cigarettes and the vape. I'm exclusively using Lucy. So I would like to encourage everybody out there, even though I did actually, when I quit cigarettes, I did quit cold turkey for 2 weeks. That stuck, and then I started vaping. But I would just like to encourage people, listen, you don't have to be, there's no shame in getting a little help. Quitting cigarettes, even though I went straight to vaping, was without a doubt the best decision I've made up until this point in my life. I feel better, smell better, don't have to wash my clothes as much. My car smells good. But get a little help. Use Lucy. It works. It's tremendous, and it tastes good. So that's my deal on it. I'm really happy that they've sponsored us because it made me kick the habit. So love you, Lucy.
Love you, Lucy.
I tried to start smoking in the Marine.
You tried to start smoking?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a hilarious sentence.
Yeah.
It took me 4 years to start smoking.
There's nothing that, I mean, like, you're out there and you're bored, and so many guys smoke, and I would like try to bum a cig and like light it, and it's like Zoolander. I was like, I got the smoke. Yeah, it didn't work for me, and I mean, of all my friends, I was probably the only one, even like in high school, the only one on the bus that didn't like dip or anything.
That's another weird thing about you, because you look like a Lucky Strike man. You know what I mean? You look like if somebody handed you a regular cigarette, you'd tear the filter off and throw it at their face and call them a pussy and then smoke it backwards.
James, correct me if I'm wrong, but your first big thing was a print ad for Skull, wasn't it? A Skull ad.
It was a print ad, and then it first came out in Playboy, and my mom, like, who was a school teacher, bought it and went around like the elementary school with but I mean, she had it folded.
Right.
You couldn't see what it was.
Your first print ad was a skull commercial in a Playboy.
Yes.
You've got that framed somewhere, don't you?
Somewhere, yeah. I mean,
there's badass too. He's like standing there looking all hard, and he's like covered in dirt and shit, and he's holding a football pointing at the camera, but just calling you a bitch, basically, from the other side of the page.
Just lying to America.
Yeah.
I had, it's all lies. I had gum in my mouth. I had gum in my lip. That's what I had.
Hilarious.
Yeah, don't believe it. Don't believe it.
There's nothing sacred. Your inability to start smoking is not the only thing that made you sort of stand apart from many of your fellow veterans, if I'm not mistaken, because as we said earlier, you were a surprise draft pick to the left team.
Yeah.
As somebody who was in the Marines for years, and like I said, has remained like active in the veteran community and all of that, why don't you talk a little bit about the sort of political landscape, as it were, and then I definitely want to ask you about all this this recent story about Donald Trump hating the troops and all that.
Well, I mean, it seems like the veteran world is very bifurcated at the moment. Anyways, I don't know. For me, going to war, I was totally like, let's go kill bad guys. Let's stack them up. Let's it's Desert Nom. And I was a Marine. Like, that's what we're trained to do. We're trained to fucking break hearts and stack bodies. And that's what you want to do for America. And I got over there and I realized it was people. And then also you find out, I mean, I'm jaded because our country was like, yeah, there's weapons of mass destruction. Let's send all of our little daughters and sons to go die. And then you get over there and you're like, wait, these people are having a hard enough time day to day. Like, clearly Iraq has nothing to do with this. But yeah, so my mindset on war and just the whole industrial war complex and military and politics and all that totally just started shifting real fast. I still went again for a second tour in Iraq, so it took me a minute to learn some of that stuff. But after that, I was pretty much like, hey man, do we need to be doing this? Don't get me wrong, like, there's some definitely bad people that need to be held accountable, and the U.S. military is great at that. But I just don't like seeing people being used in a way for a lot of people to gain while they sit in their offices in their suits and not really do anything. And they love to yell freedom, and rights and democracy, and not do anything for it.
What about other vets and everything, though, in terms of just politics? Like, I know, and I'm not asking you to speak for all of them. I'm saying, do you feel, as a progressive, weird isn't the right word, but do you feel
it's akin to being from Salina, and I understand the mindset. I understand why people, because there's such a belief structure and your foundation is in America, and anything that questions that is a disruption of your foundation. And it's scary. It's terrifying. And listen, like, I just actually disabled my Facebook because I got tired of lecturing, thick-headed people about stuff and realizing they wouldn't really change. So I feel kind of cowardice about it, but also I'm like really relieved because I'm like, oh, I'm not wasting a bunch of time talking to a fucking rock.
Right.
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's kind of it's a weird thing because like there's part of you that is like, okay, but like our job as human beings, especially people who are trying to be progressive, is like I do need to have these conversations with people. That's the only way it's going to work. Like it's your responsibility to talk to these people. But then like the other side of that coin is like they're literally not listening and they're just going to call me a queer. And so it's that old that phrase like don't wrestle with a pig because you both get muddy, but the pig likes it.
Yeah.
And I say that because I too don't fuck with Facebook no more. Like for all that reason, I'm like, it just doesn't seem to work or matter. And all at the end of the day, they feel the exact same way after that conversation, and I feel horrible.
Yeah, it's was it Mark Twain's "Don't argue with idiots because they'll bring you down to your level and beat you with experience."
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, I have my boy Stan Mayer here with me. He's also a Marine vet and former intelligence officer and like-minded guy. He is also small town. He's from the Rust Belt, though. He's from Ohio, but he's definitely blue collar guy. I'm gonna slide him in here with me. Yeah, come sit on my lap.
Oh, hell yeah!
Okay. Another tall Marine.
What's up, Stan?
What about it, Stan? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. That's real easy to dismiss. I mean, so are Americans that are really attached to that rusty bumper. Anything that goes against their tribal belief, their strength in tribes, and everyone wants to, not dissent to stay with their families. But for instance, we forget about things that happened a month or 2 months ago because there's so many dumpster fires day by day. So like, report goes in the presidential daily brief. Vladimir Putin's got a bounty on heads of American soldiers,
right.
Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever. And they say, that information wasn't, reliable, but it's not true. For something to go in the PDB, it's got to be corroborated by multiple disciplines of, collected information. We're not just talking about talking to people. We're talking about everything, the whole thing. And then it's verified to make sure that it's true. There's a whole system. It ends up in a 2-page folder that's leather bound. The president could take it into the shitter with him and read it if he wasn't on Twitter. But he doesn't. It's written in friggin' abstract so that you can get through it real quick. And then you can ask questions about it, but it's never looked at. The shit was in there. So I didn't read it. It just, whatever. Anyway, the point is that vets will then look at that and say, like, I don't know about intelligence. Well, shit, man. What were you doing in the war,
Yeah, well, it's like, that's one of the biggest I don't know if con's the right word, but that's one of the most unfortunate things about his entire administration, how it's affected the culture, is that, like you just said, it has to be vetted and go through this rigorous process to end up in there. You can't just say that, oh, it's not reliable, but that's exactly what they do about everything that doesn't hit for them. Is they literally just they say fake news or say that it's bullshit or whatever, and then you can't argue with you can do what you just did and go over all the reasons why that's not true. But it doesn't matter because they just think you're fake news and the fake news to them.
Yeah, I mean, when I say genius, please know that I mean evil genius, but regardless, it was genius. I mean, that was Roger Stone's whole, like when he laid that out for Trump in the first campaign, I mean, that's all he had to do. And we're 4 years later and it's just perfect. It's the get out of jail free card. It's I've set it up to where no matter what, I can just be like, that's bullshit. And they'll all be like, well, it's been bullshit before. May as well be bullshit now. So goddamn, I don't know how you work around that.
Well, so let me ask y'all what you guys thought about that big report that came out in the Atlantic last week about Trump and his history where vets are concerned. How you felt about it, but also like what kind of impact, if any, do you think that it will have in the military right now or the veteran community right now or both?
I don't understand why we're talking about this report, like not we, but like the Americans talking about this report, the Atlantic article or whatever, like this is new information.
Right. Yeah.
We've all known this.
For sure.
And pointed at it. The media is a reflection of what's already in the zeitgeist. And like anybody that has any sense, I don't care what side of the fence you sit on, knows that this guy is not the kind of dude that appreciates things like selfless service. That's just not a driving.
Makes no sense.
So, of course, like, I'm not surprised by that. I hated this dude before he ever stepped foot, before he ever said anything about veterans. He walks into a military, Arlington, wherever, Bellawood or something like that, has no idea what's going on because he doesn't give a shit, It's another, example you can point at it and say, well, this is fake, but I don't care who was in the room or if it was bugged or there's a microphone or there's a report or I don't give a shit. We all know better. Like, this guy doesn't give a fuck about vets, bodies in the ground, the guys hobbling around on one leg. Shit, most of them are running faster than James and I almost guarantee that. But, he doesn't care. He doesn't understand. That's the sacrifice.
Right. James said earlier he was talking about getting off of Facebook because he was like, he got tired of arguing with these people who were always like posting flags and, saying support the troops and all this type of shit, and have never been in the military, never been to war or whatever, don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they parrot that stuff all the time. I guess it just goes back to the fake news thing, but it's like, this is one of the things with Trump that it seems like you would think it would be harder for that crowd to just brush away like they brushed away so many other things with him, because they make it such a fundamental part of their whole worldview that's just completely unassailable. You support the troops. That's what you do, is support the troops. And when the president is outed in this way, even though I agree with you completely, Stan, it's like, this isn't new information, but still, it's just one of those things. I don't understand the level of mental gymnastics they have to do, especially since I can't imagine their brains are the most advanced gymnasts to begin with, to make that kind of thing make sense. But,
Trae, there's a great example. Last night I was looking at this Facebook article came out, or no, it was a Facebook. Michael Rappaport, who has a loudmouth, and I love him, but he put up a video of a World War II vet talking about what a pile of dog shit.
I saw that.
So, of course, I go straight to the comments because I'm waiting for it. Because if one thing pisses me off more than anything in the world, it's veteran entitlement. It's when you come back from war and say, my opinion is more valuable, it holds more weight, so I'm right, you're wrong, and I look for them, and there was a litany of vets underneath that talking about, like, hey, man, thanks for your service, but you're wrong. Donald Trump is our Lord and Savior and everything. And that shit's just frustrating, and I can't figure out how to reconcile dudes that I served with honorably. I came from a unit where we lost more men killed in action in one tour than any unit in the 20 years of the war on terrorism. And any cemetery, any national cemetery in the country, we can go there and there's 5 or 6 of our buddies buried. And how do you reconcile that kind of sacrifice and then listen to the president and still wave that flag at him? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the thing you said about he doesn't understand any kind of self-sacrifice because he's entirely motivated by just like what benefits him and only him, and that's always been a major thing with him. And I think along with that, I think it's just, obviously it is vets and the military and soldiers, but I think it's also just like poor people in general for him. You know what I mean? Like I guarantee you, he thinks coal miners are suckers and losers too. And
dude,
any kind of like, right.
100%. And like, that's the thing that like, when I was arguing with some of my buddies who frankly are ex-buddies now, like, when like, if you'd asked me like 2 or 3 years ago when we were on tour, like people used to always ask us, they're like, have you lost friends over this? I'd be like, no, I mean, look, there's some people that we just don't bring it up. We don't talk about it, but like, I've not lost any friendships. And don't get me wrong, it was bad then. And then honestly, I should have been like, look, man, if you like this fucking dude, I ain't got no time for you. But it was just so early on that I was like, well, surely to God, they will come to their fucking senses. But now, like 4 years after this, like, it's kind of a line in the sand deal breaker for me, and they know, and we don't fucking talk about it. But holy shit, I just lost my complete train of thought. What were we talking? I just got so much.
about poor. He hates poor people.
Oh, right. So my point that I used to make when I would argue with them is that like they had it in their mind, and I'm talking like some of my buddies who, let's say, they make anywhere from like, you know, regular like $42,000 a year to $60,000, like in that range. You know what I mean? In their mind, they think that they could be this guy. Like, well, if I just work hard, I could be. And I can't get over them. I'm like, dude, you know the way that you look at a homeless person because you're a piece of shit. You know, Donald Trump thinks that about you, bro. You and a homeless person have so much more in common than you and Donald Trump ever will. And he looks at you that way. He doesn't give a fuck about you, like, at all. Like, and he never will. So, like, I just don't understand the whatever, dude. It's just, it's rough.
Not Donald Trump. Anyone that's not Donald Trump is second to Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And by the way, that's fine. Just don't be president. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I get, in order to be that level of human being, like in order to be him, in order to be Kanye, in order to be Michael Jordan. I'm not saying Kanye and Michael Jordan and Donald Trump are the same, but in order to be one of those types of things, you got to step on next and you got to not give a fuck about other people, but don't be president. I can't have that in a president.
No, doesn't. I mean, like this one, you see the way he acts, they wouldn't tolerate. They wouldn't even tolerate. If you just close your eyes and listen to the man talk, like you're like, that's not a president. I mean, I would feel bad selling him a car because I feel like I sold some special ed kid.
Right. Well, and that's another thing too that I always constantly say to my ex friends is like, they're like, oh, well, you only think this because you watch MSNBC or you watch CNN. And I'm like, dude, no, I don't. I don't have to. Like, I watch the dude say stuff.
Yeah.
I watch his press briefings. I watch him when he gives speeches. It's nothing. I listen to him, and I don't like him. I don't have to have some fucking news person interpret what he said to me.
No.
So that's it. Like, I don't Fox News, none of that. Just listen to him. Do you like him? If you do, you fucking suck right now, I think.
And he's not the first shitty president, but
of course not.
He's just the one now, and he sounds like a moron every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about patriotism in general? Like, I get one thing that annoys me a lot about their side is that they've like co-opted patriotism completely. You know what I mean? Like, if you're on the left, that means you hate America. Yeah, right. Automatically, you think America's terrible and you hate it, and it's, you know, not that you want it to do better because you love it. That's ridiculous. It's because you hate it, and they have like full ownership of any kind of patriotism and love of country and that sort of thing, which I find to be complete bullshit. But I wonder how you guys feel about even just the general notion of patriotism as it stands in this country right now.
It's how you, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. So Kurt Vonnegut wrote Slaughterhouse-Five. He was a World War II vet. Survived.
I just read that this past weekend for the first time. Where'd you say that?
And that very first chapter I love. And in it, he talks about, you know, well, he's writing from a perspective, and he says the wife of his friend is like, don't write this book because if you do, kids are going to read it, and then they're going to make movies based off it, and like Audie Murphy and John Wayne are going to play it, and then kids are going to watch it, and then they're going, I'm going to join the Marines or join, you know, the war, and then they'll write books about it and they'll make movies about it, and then the next actors, you know, and this perpetuates this kind of violence and senselessness, you know, of killing. But I also come from where I'm like, I want this country. I want to fight for the country. I want to fight for this country that has these things, like for this country in which it stands, you know, liberty and justice for all. All men are created. I believe those things in their literal senses, you know, like they mean liberty and justice for all. And I'm willing to fight. Join the Marines was the easy idea, and going to war is an easy thing when it's come to defend that. But then when you find out that it isn't, that is when it starts hurting. And when you've laid down friends and you've put yourself in harm's way, to realize that they're taking those ideas and those notions of what we could be and, you know, tainting them and corrupting them. It's that. And so I talk to kids. Him and I get to go talk to a couple kids here in Los Angeles to their AP English classes, and we talk about being vets and being creative writers too. And I tell these kids, anyone that wants to join the military, I'm like, you know, hey, you might want to have some education first, a little bit more life experience. I don't want to tell you not to do it, because I surely did, and I understand why you do it, but I don't know.
The Norman Rockwell picture of serving your country and patriotism is a myth, that anymore, at least. And even in the past, read General Smedley Butler's book, War is a Racket. And here's a guy who has, Medal of Honor or two.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, you have to have a little bit of clear sight, and usually that's only if you make it off to the other side. My idea of patriotism is a lot different than it was. Just much like James, I wanted the full value meal package. I wanted to, the Forrest Gump story. I wanted to, get in the gunfight and, hold a guy while he's dying and all that shit and get medals and all this other crap, right? All of that garbage ends up in a shoebox and is sentimental. And I feel the same way about the flag. I'm about to get a bunch of shit for this, but the deal is that the sentimental value of it is appointed. If you can't understand or grasp the true meaning of what it means to be American, it doesn't mean you have to serve and go run around in some bullshit war and murder as many brown people as you can. It means that everybody has to do their part to make the place better with the information they got at the time. To me, that's patriotism. And if that means, kneeling for the national anthem or something like that, then friggin', get on it, get after it. Do what you got to do, man. I don't care what you do. I see them, they drape these things over our buddies' caskets. They raise them up, all that shit. We're in one of these high school classes, and this great discussion with a bunch of seniors in AP English. We're talking about Kurt Vonnegut and Slaughterhouse-Five, and it was the first class of the day. This is Santa Monica High School. Announcements go off, they talk about what's going on for lunch, and then they do the Pledge of Allegiance. No one in the classroom stands. I'm sitting on the desk watching this class, and they're all just sitting in their chairs. Now, 23-year-olds stand right back from Iraq would have been irate, Mm-hmm. I was sitting there kind of smiling, thinking about what an interesting time to be American right now. Like, these kids have a choice, So we had this long discussion. I said, I noticed none of you commies stood up for the national anthem, or not the national anthem, for the Pledge of Allegiance. And they all kind of got bashful because they thought I was going to
whip the shit out of them.
Exactly. Yeah. But so let's talk about it. I mean, like, where's the kid that's going to, stand up while everyone else is on their phones, talking to each other, hanging out, and like the one kid's going to stand up like some kind of freaking Hitler Youth, So I turn around and look at the chalkboard, and there's no flag even. I asked the teacher, I go, what kids, you have a flag in your classroom? We used to have that growing up, There's no flag. She goes, we don't have a budget for flags. They might put a magnet one up on the wall or something, that doesn't happen. We're not in like some kind of like, People's Republic. It's just freaking California. The deal is that they get real hard up about like, oh, over there on the left coast or, shit, it's the same. It's the same. Like Joe Biden, it's the same. Basically, it's the same. You just got to pick your poison, But at the end of the day, you'd like somebody that can at least lie to you about their appreciation for patriotism, Like, it's not that hard. All the presidents have been shitbags. It just smile, and lie to us. Tell us that you appreciate what the troops have done. It's real. It's not hard, The guy dies, call his mom, shit like that. I met George Bush like fucking 90 times. Like, when James and I were in the hospital, he and I met at Walter Reed and Bethesda Naval after I got hit and he got injured in Iraq. And I was constantly in and out of meetings with George Bush. He would invite us over for drinks and stuff, and we'd talk. I mean, he was a good dude as far as hanging out was. Now, I'm not talking about policies or his president or presidency of the administration or anything like that. The guy sent me off to friggin' what the fuck was that we were doing out there? I don't know. But in a room full of amputees, where I will wheel these guys in with no legs and shit into, the commandant's living room and have cocktails with the president, he would get on his knees so he was on people's levels and talk to them eye to eye. He would appreciate that. His wife would come out, like he understood how to at least wag that dog,
Sure.
Cool, man, you're making an effort. He knew the names of the guys who were wounded. He went to the hospital at least quarterly. He made time for that shit, right? And it's just easy. Just lie to me, at this point. Like,
right.
If the American dream is a myth, just keep it up and lie to me.
I mean, I agree with you 100% because, like, that's what I talk to a lot of my friends and they would say now they say things like, well, dude, are you going to tell me that? Because I'll explain to them, they'll talk about how, Joe Biden's a socialist, he's a communist. And I'm like, guys, I don't know how much more I have to say this. I said it to y'all about Obama. We think he's almost a Republican. Like,
Right.
no, he's not. Like, he's not even close to liberal enough for us. So I don't get what you guys are on about that. Like, if someone's on the left, they're a communist, and then they'll say things like, okay, well then why do you like him more than you like Trump? They're like, if they had the same policies, would you still vote for Joe Biden? And I was like, well, if they had the same policies, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But hypothetically, if they had the same policies, yes, I would vote for Joe Biden. And the reason is because, like you said, Stan, most of our presidents have been shitbags, but they haven't all been embarrassing. And at least Joe Biden, regardless of how he would be as a president, he would be more diplomatic. And if I've got to vote for literally just one thing, it's who can be more diplomatic. Because when we've got so many countries with their fucking finger on a button hating the shit out of us, I want a guy that can go in there and look nice and not be a complete fucking embarrassment. And I think Joe Biden will I think Joe Biden at least doesn't have enough of an ego to where, like, Donald Trump just thinks that he can do every single cabinet member's job. So he just puts whoever there because, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to be fucking doing it. I think Joe Biden is a guy who's like, hey, I'm not good at insert this thing here, but this person would be, so I'll appoint them to that thing. Also, Supreme Court, all that shit. But like you were like, it's just he's dangerous. He's fucking embarrassing. And regardless of, George Bush has done some shit that did not hit. But I would rather have him representing me in a United Nations meeting than Trump, because at least, like you said, lie to me. Fucking lie. And Trump does lie, but just about dumb shit. Just like, I bought a mountain yesterday. No, you didn't. You were like, sorry.
It's also like Stan said, like, it shouldn't be that hard. Some of this stuff, like, think about
the playbook's been written for you.
This is how high level of a douchebag Donald Trump is, even among, like, just regular people. Like, how many just average people, human beings, do you know on either side of the political spectrum, on any part of the intelligence spectrum, any of that? How many people do you know who would, when faced with a amputee, a disabled veteran with no legs in a wheelchair, right? Whose genuine reaction to that would be like, oh, gross. Nobody wants to see that. Like,
dude,
very, very few. I don't know if I can think of another person I've ever met who would have that reaction.
My mom, but just she'd be doing a bit. You know what I mean? But
right.
Like, I could see my mom just being like, we'll just put them to the side, not near the sandwiches. But like, she'd be doing a bit, and it'd be funny.
Yeah, but I just don't like, and again, it's supposed to work in the exact opposite. The standard for being able to hold the office of the U.S. presidency is supposed to be way higher than most people.
Yeah.
And he's flipped it like completely around. He's way shittier of a person than 95% of people any of us knows. And that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, because I know some fucking bags of shit.
Right. Who wouldn't do that?
Hell no. Dude, that's literally the last thing that they would do.
Right.
Like, most of people that I know that are bags of shit, like, they at least lie and put on the face of like the troop. They don't falter on the troops part. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might be the worst person in the world, but by God, if a military parade was coming down, they would stop beating their wife to salute, the goddamn, the car. They would.
Yeah.
Somebody told this guy was a commander in chief, and he thought that meant he was going to get cool parades,
Yeah.
And didn't really understand the gravity of what that actually means and where he stands. It's one of the reasons that you see guys like generals, disciplined Marines, a guy like Jim Mattis, right, who keeps his mouth shut and watches, and when he can't deal with it anymore, he steps aside and observes, right, and then you orient yourself to the problem, you make a decision on how you're going to deal with it, and then you act, right? And you see him kind of sitting back and watching it and saying, now's the time to say something, right? I think that dissension isn't really a thing that is manifested or encouraged in the military, right?
Of course not, yeah.
And of course, it's easier to align yourself, as far as a veteran perspective, with most of the the people that you're serving with. You know, like the political party that seems to give us more raises when they're, when they have the majority. You know, things like that, and that's all well and good, but I can't reconcile. And I think that maybe the fact that Trump is an actual idiot and speaks down to the, that level, maybe that's why people feel so represented. You know, we don't necessarily breed critical thought. You know, I love teachers. Our parents are teachers are great. And the education system sucks. You know, we don't teach people how to think. We teach them information.
Right.
Well,
So,
it's been said plenty of other times, but I think it's 100% true, is that we're talking about how dumb he clearly is, and how dumb he clearly sounds, but he is what a dumb person thinks that a smart person or a successful person or whatever, that's what they think that is. And he sort of fills that role perfectly, which blows my fucking mind, because I can't conceptualize how a person could think that, but they clearly do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just where we're from, and you know this as well as I do, money equals brains. Like, they think if you've got money, you had to have been smart in order to get in. Of course, a lot of times that's fucking true. Absolutely, a lot of times that's true. But people are like, well, if he was so stupid, why does he have all this money that his dad gave him? Answer me that,
Well, smarts and Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't pray, I heard someone saying well, Trump wouldn't be successful if he wasn't a Christian, because there's no way you get to that kind of success without, Jesus.
And when here's the deal, he's just so very not a Christian or religious. That was one of the first, things that slipped through. Like, the veil got ripped off that very early. And then I think everybody was like, well, okay, but he's more of a Christian than anybody on the left, because they're, killing babies and drinking their blood out of their neck holes. So you've got if you even have a modicum of intelligence and you're on the right, you know that he's not a Christian, and that's all for show. And now you know that he doesn't like the fucking troops. So at this point, you've got the two things that are the pillar. I mean, they're the pillars of that whole fucking deal. So at this point, just look at me in the face and say that you really like his racist policies. You can't hide behind you. There's no more hiding anymore, because used to, at least they could say, well, he loves the troops, and go, well, all right, you're just a fucking idiot. Well, he loves he don't like any of those. You just like him because he's a fucking bully, and he doesn't believe in mental health, and he thinks that all depressed people are just lazy people on the couch, and he thinks that everybody's just getting a government check and all these welfare queens, and your tax money is going to fund a fucking heroin addict and blah blah blah. You just like him, and you're a fucking idiot. Like, you're just a goddamn idiot, and you can't hide behind any of those things anymore. Like, it's over. And by the way, just say that to me, and then we won't have to we can just get drunk and I'll just know you're a piece of shit, but we don't have to do the dance. Like, just say it. Come out and say it so I can respect you at least.
I'm waiting for the litany of comments like that to get sent to me in my DMs by I started with. That's going to be like my evening after this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be great.
I'll send you screenshots of the one me and Trae get to make you feel better.
Well, you could also use the military is basically socialism too. No one really.
Right.
Yes.
For sure.
We've filled our time, and it's been great. But since you guys are here, I want to shift gears slightly, because I thought of something that I would love to hear y'all's perspective on. All the stuff with the cops, right, and law enforcement that's going on. Hear a lot of talk about the training they need and whatnot. And I've read stories about the training that they get a lot of times, where this guy who is a vet, by the way, he calls it killology, where he trains cops to act as though they're in a war zone, is what he says, right, with enemy combatants and whatnot. And obviously, to me, it's well, they don't need any more of that training. But obviously, it's the type of training that's important, right? And what I'm wondering, you guys were both in the Marines. You both served multiple tours overseas in places that were obviously hostile, that were complicated, with people that, were under a whole lot of stress and in a tough situation and didn't know how they looked at you and all that. You've been in very complex situations where the threat of violence or anything like that is concerned. So I was wondering if you guys could talk about the idea of de-escalation, you know, and the importance of that, and basically just how, from your perspective, it seems that a lot of these big city cops seem to approach that.
All right. So escalation of force is a very simple concept that we expect 18, 19-year-olds to, administer. So when we're rolling down a road in a Humvee and a suicide bomber comes barreling out of an alley, this guy doesn't just go to the gun and start ripping on it, right? And the military is so nervous, and this all comes down to money, how much it will cost, and reparations, whatnot, collateral damage, the backlash from the media, all this shit, right? The kid is 19. He knows that if he lets the guy get too close, all of his friends are going to die, yada, yada, yada. He's got to go through this list of things to do first before he's allowed to use lethal force, right? And he has to do this in a split second. The kid's 19. He's from bumfuck nowhere. He's got, whatever kind of fucking bullshit, they've been teaching us in school where we're just, processing information and putting it on paper. We're not talking about, critical thinkers, but they have to be, right, in the moment. So he's got to wave a flag at him first, which is a tent pole with a, yellow panel. And then he can shoot a little pen flare at it. And then he's going to make shoot a bigger flare up. And then he can shoot rounds over here and then at the ground and then at the motor and then at the windshield. And the guy's still coming, and then you're allowed to kill him, right? And this is why a lot of guys get killed by suicide bombers, because a lot of shit has to happen in that moment of time. But we expect them. And if he doesn't do that, and it happens to be a family full of people, he's going to jail. It's real simple, right? So anyway, the moral of the story is that we spend a lot of fucking time training,
Right.
To remediate those kind of issues before they happen, right? That even makes sense. So I used to train cops on the side, and a lot of what departments of state in, whatever given state in America uses their money for is to do the hot thing, which is give cops active shooter training if they're lucky, and they get to go through and like shoot with operators and shit like that. And the idea is to enforce laws, not to gun people down. The
Right.
point is that if you are carrying a firearm on your hip, the society has given you permission to use that thing, to carry it, because they deem it necessary to do your work. The least you can fucking do is know how to implement the tool properly. And if you can't do that, hang up the uniform. Now, I understand some departments don't give enough shooting time, so you got to go on your own. You got to take care of yourself. As an insurance policy, as a life insurance policy for yourself and your family, learn how to shoot the fucking gun. I see these dudes blasting guys 7, 8, 9 times, point blank range. And as far as I'm concerned as a shooter, there should be one fucking hole. All 9 rounds should have went through that one fucking hole, and they should have all been through the fucking heart, but they're scared. So they can just yank on triggers. They're scared that they don't have enough training, so the guy could close in on them too quick. They're scared about all these things, and these fears are normal. This is like,
it's a scary fucking job.
It's a
Like
scary job.
no one's saying that they're not putting their life in danger. Again, it really comes down to money and education. Like the more training, the more education. Again, I feel like it needs to be for driving and getting pregnant. You should have tests like fuck it, like, hey, like this is what it's going to be like when you drive. I think it might need to be a little harder, and I think even harder for cops, like in that role. In the military, you have to constantly train. And I'm not saying cops don't, but clearly, by example, by seeing what's going on, there's some kind of disconnect. And I assume it's training. I assume they're not getting enough training or education, and it's a very stressful job. And when you mix the lack of training and education with the stress and the danger of the job, you're going to have these results. And again, I think it's accountability at the very end of the day. Like, who is accountable? And even if a cop is found not guilty for something, when they clearly fucked up,
yeah,
that cop should hold themselves accountable. Like that, our society is so past the buck. I fucked this up. This is my, let's have some ownership and let's grow as a community. Otherwise, we're going to continue down this road of division and hate. And there can't be a good positive outcome the way we're headed right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's those fucking, people on the right to me just they seem to be so binary, like things are black and white. And I think that and it goes with the troops too. The troops and the cops, they can never talk shit about a single one of them because they think that's an admission of the whole thing is fuck. Like if they were to talk shit about a police officer doing a bad thing, that would be like they think that's them saying fuck fuck the cops. And if they talk and that's they would never admit that a troop was bad unless it was a troop that became a liberal. Then of course whatever they did was an act of war. But fuck Chelsea Manning and all that shit. But they can't talk. Like every troop was a good. It's kind of like how I used to feel early on about gay people. As a liberal, I thought that I had if I met a gay person and they were shitty to me, I couldn't tell that story because every gay person, gay people must all be great because I support the LGBTQ, and it's taken me a long time to figure out that some gay people are pieces of shit, and that's my gay people are my troops. Yeah, but they can't do it, man. They can't if one of them, if they say, hey, the cop that killed Breonna Taylor, murderer, they're like, well, if I say that, then that's me saying fuck the cops and all my buddies are going to be mad at me. And that's so wild that they I won't name who it is, but I have several police officer friends. And one of them we were talking not long ago and he was like, I've got so many stories that I really wish I could get them off my chest and say this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I mean, just do it. It's not like it happened in your precinct. He's like, no, you don't understand. We can't do that. That would not, right. I would lose my job. And I was like, does that not make you step back and think clearly it's systemic? If I'm afraid of my job just for saying, hey, by the way, I think murder is bad, even if it was a cop that did it. If saying that puts you in jeopardy, then it's clear as day that the whole system is fucked up and it's going to happen again. I don't get it.
Hey, their job is to protect and serve, right?
Yeah.
They're not, and you can throw up I was afraid of I was in fear of my life and the life of my fellow officers.
Yeah.
But are you just wanting to be a killer? Because there was definitely a part of me when I joined the Marines, I want to go kill bad guys, right? And if you hang your ethos on that, that's going to be you're going to see everything that a hammer sees everyone as a nail, right?
Yeah.
And you can't. That as we are supposed to hold our president to a higher standard, these law officers, these peace officers are supposed to be held to a high standard because their job is such a important part of our community to keep us safe. But when people abuse that and it just totally takes away from all that. And then again, like you said, there's shitty people in all, of all creeds, right?
Can I just point out that James was a cop in the military?
Yeah.
These guys not talking about that.
Gross.
Yeah, right. Nasty.
No, but no, go ahead, Stan.
Recruiting, I don't know. Defunding sounds to me the wrong idea. I think that somebody should spend a lot of friggin' money on figuring out how to recruit better officers. I don't know what else to do because we can't just, pull the chocks off this thing and let it go. Because right now it's crazy enough fucking out there, but something has to be done. But I just don't think that we have people, anytime you have a force, I don't care if 99% of the guys on it are just the best cops in the world. When you have a person that doesn't appreciate the gravity of their actions or the fact that this 3.5-pound piece of steel on their hip is an implement of lethal force, and what that actually means, that it's not a turkey shoot, then the whole police force suffers. And that's one guy in the entire country,
Right.
The cops are not a military unit. They're not on the same, it's not the Army. A cop in Detroit isn't on the same unit as, like the cop in Cleveland or whatever.
Right.
They're all independent little franchises of law enforcement to enforce the policies of that area. So they gotta, I don't know.
I mean, I think, and what the fuck do I know about any of this? But I feel like the accountability part is like the single biggest factor in it. It's because they haven't ever really had any for the most part. So of course we have all these problems. I mean, it's like that. Chris Rock had a great bit on his last stand-up special he had, which came out way before George Floyd and any of that, because it's been a problem for a long time. He was talking about police brutality, and he was like, they always say, it's like, look, most cops are good. It's just a few bad apples. And he was like, look, I don't know what to tell you. Some jobs aren't allowed to have bad apples. They're just not. He was like, if Delta Airlines came out and said, look, most of our pilots like to land the plane. The vast majority of them like to land. It's just a couple bad apples that fly in the mountainsides. But it's like that shit wouldn't fly. No. And it's like being a doctor is an extremely stressful job with extremely high stakes. And sometimes shit happens and people die, and it's not your fault. You did the best you could. That happens all the time. But if you're fucking around, and people lose their life because of it, because you're not taking the job seriously enough, your ass will lose your license. You won't be a doctor anymore. The same thing happens to lawyers, name it. Like, they have because we as a society recognize, like, we can't have that shit.
Right,
you can't just have doctors out here fucking killing people. So we hold them accountable, and we don't hear these stories about doctors all the time, outside of big pharma, but that's another story. But like, cops don't have that.
And what's even more fucked up, in my opinion, is like, it's not like, I would say in most cases, it's not like the day that dude put his neck on George Floyd's neck that this was the first sign that maybe he might not be a good person. Like, that type of shit, they've known.
He had a record. It came out publicly. He had a whole list of prior like infractions and investigations and stuff of doing shit like that.
But even if that was his first one, my point is like, there's no way the people around him didn't know this is the type of guy who would do this. Like, that's not something you just wake up and be like, I'm gonna do this today. Like, you've had that brewing, you've got some other bad thoughts, you've definitely shared them. So like at the end of the day, like, you can't, if you're one of those cops, you can't be like, I just would have never seen it coming from him. Bullshit. Get the fuck out of here.
And also, like, that that's not a pleasant thing to do to someone. And
of course.
And deadly. Like,
of course.
You know that, and then yet you watch him implement that. So
and for 8 minutes or whatever, it's one thing to like, knee somebody in the face or whatever, and then be like an act of passion. But like, you've got so much time to think, I'm choking this motherfucker to death. Like, you didn't just wake up that morning and decide to be that person. You were that guy, and you've been a cop, and there's no fucking, like you said, he's got the record, but then on the record, like, that's just shit that he got wrote up for. Like, that's shit that they got caught doing.
Yeah.
So, and it didn't matter, by the way. So
at that point, it's not on him. It's the accountability has to go upwards.
Right. Agreed.
Which is a lethal operation. The accountability goes upwards. If your private fails use of lethal force, or for any reason, for like losing his night vision goggles or something like that, his squad leader, his platoon commander, possibly the company commander, they all get in trouble.
Yeah.
They not lose their command and their rank and stuff. If somebody kills somebody, then it goes all the way up, and there's generals. And some general have to answer the president or the secretary of defense and say, the reason that I have soldiers on the ground that are fucking up is because I didn't clarify how important it was to not fuck up.
Right.
So all the heads fucking roll.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just point at Derek Chauvin and say, you crucify this fucking guy. Like, it goes all the way up, and at a certain point, you can follow that little, political chain all the way up to some megalomaniacal friggin' selfish ego bastard at the top of the hill. And, there's Donald Trump right there. And there's no accountability. People have seen over and over this example. Something happens, it's obviously his fault. All he has to say is, no, it's not, or fake news, and then the accountability dissipates.
Yeah, I mean, how many times has he said, I don't take responsibility for that, blah blah. It's like, I'm sorry, Jack, that ain't how it works. It don't really matter.
Man, your job is you're the fucking head taco, man.
It emboldens the behavior down to the lowest level, not just cops down to your waiter who's like, I'm sorry I didn't bring you your food, here's your check. I'm like, no, hold the fuck on. You know, like it's happening at every level, and it's because the leader of the it has no accountability. And I think it goes everywhere, you know. And if you want to play military and put on, you know, cool guy special operator pants and your knee pads and your freaking helmets with the earpieces and shit and run around like you're in special ops, then fucking train, you know. Learn how to do your goddamn job.
Yeah. Fucking again.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Seems simple. But all right. Well, this has been great. We appreciate y'all being here. Stan Mayer, James Bain. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Hey Corey, how's your butthole?
It's calmed down. It's not as minty. I did halfway through the podcast, I farted and it kind of smelled like toothpaste.
Well, that's fun.
So that's pretty cool.
He will absolutely be shoving more things up his butthole.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a whole experimentation thing going now. Anyway, thank y'all for listening. We'll see you next week, H.O.
Yeah, skew.
There it is.
Thank you, fellas.
All right, guys. Thanks. Love you guys. Later.
Love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. Thanks, Stan.
Good to meet you, Stan.
Good to meet you.